Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahushai, Bahasham, Racha, Kodash. Double honors to the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone, and peace and blessings to the elect. And today we're going to go into Daniel, the second chapter, and basically picking up from where we left off in the first chapter. Pretty much in the first chapter, we went into how the Babylonians had, led by Nebuchadnezzar, had basically come over and taken over Jerusalem and carried captive Daniel and I believe they also took Jehoiakim and so on. But they basically took over and so at least following the plot of Daniel and some of the nobility are now in Babylon. Okay, and they've pretty much been prepared to come in and serve before the king. All right, so this is Daniel chapter 2 verse 1, the king's forgotten dream. And pretty much in this chapter, it's heavily set on a vision or a dream that Nebuchadnezzar has concerning, which really represents the succession of world empires, the different kingdoms that would come up into power and rule from the time of Nebuchadnezzar all the way until the time we're living in right now. All right. So Daniel 2:1, and in the second year of the reign of Nebuchadnezzar, Nebuchadnezzar dreamed dreams wherewith his spirit was troubled, and his sleep brake from him. Then the king commanded to call the magicians and the astrologers and the sorcerers and the Chaldeans for to shew the king his dreams. So they came and stood before the king. So and a part of the king's court at this time was, he did have astrologers and sorcerers and Chaldeans and magicians, and these were counted a part of the wise men, because they would be able to reveal certain mysteries and answer certain questions, when the king had them. Okay, and then possibly give certain counsels. So they were esteemed to a certain degree. All right. Verse 3, and the king said unto them, I have dreamed a dream, and my spirit was troubled to know the dream. So he basically had a dream, and he's like, he didn't understand it, and he wants to know what's this about. Then spake the Chaldeans to the king in Syriac. And let's see what we have here for Syriac. Might be Aramaic Syriac Aramaic. And I believe Aramaic is a dialect of the Hebrew that we have, or the Phoenician Hebrew, which is really the Paleo Hebrew. All right, and as you can see, Aramia, okay, which goes back to Syria, Aram. So you'll see often, if you look, like when you read the book of Daniel, when you first look at the interlinear concordance and you pull up this instance here, you'll see it'll give you the Aramaic, and then you can go into the root word or the Hebrew version of it, and the word wouldn't be that different. Okay. So they spake unto him, O king, live forever. Tell thy servants the dream, and we will shew the interpretation. And the king answered and said to the Chaldeans, the thing is gone from me. If ye will not make known unto me the dream, with the interpretation thereof, ye shall be cut in pieces, and your houses shall be made a dunghill. And going back to what I mentioned in the last, when we went through Daniel, the first chapter, in the ancient world, when you were, in the ruled by a king, put it like that, it wasn't about like today where you do something wrong and your position and you get fired or you go to jail or something. No. Your life was on the line. Okay? Because in his mind, right, Nebuchadnezzar is thinking, which at this point, the Most High put the spirit on him to do this. And this was to set up, okay, Daniel. So in his mind, he's thinking, well, what's your purpose then? Right? You're here and your job is supposed to be able to tell me things like this. So, what's your purpose if you can't tell me a dream that I had and then the interpretation thereof? And then he wasn't going to say, oh, okay, then you're dismissed and don't come back and work here no more. No, he said, you're going to be put to death. So people took their jobs very seriously, because nobody wants to die, right? But if ye shew the dream and the interpretation thereof. So he's had this dream and he says, look, I want you to tell me what the dream was and then break it down to me. Okay. First off, explaining somebody's dream to them, that in itself is a challenge, right? Let alone telling them what the dream was and then explaining it to them. Verse 6, but if ye shew the dream and the interpretation thereof, ye shall receive of me gifts and rewards and great honor. Therefore, show me the dream and the interpretation thereof. Then they answered again and said, let the king tell his servants the dream, and we will shew the interpretation of it. The king answered and said, I know of certainty that ye would gain the time, because ye see the thing is gone from me. So he basically told him, I don't remember the dream. All right. But I want you to tell me what it was. Maybe you could jog my memory and then tell me what it means. They're saying, what you mean? We could tell you what the dream is or what it means if you tell us what it is. Well, you want us to tell you what your dream was. What kind of question is that? What kind of request is that? All right. So let's see how this is worded in some of the other translations. So in the NLT, it says, the king replied, I know what you're doing. You're stalling for time because you know I am serious when I say that he was going to, kill him if they didn't basically answer this request. All right. NIV says, the king answered, I am certain that you are trying to gain time because you realize that this is what I have firmly decided. Okay. Verse 9, but if ye will not make known unto me the dream, there is but one decree for you. For ye have prepared lying and corrupt words to speak before me, till the time be changed. Therefore tell me the dream, and I shall know that ye can show me the interpretation thereof. So if you can tell me what dream I had, I'm going to know for sure that whatever interpretation you've given me is correct, right? Because you can go off of the merit or assume that, hey, I'm going to say that because you're a magician or you're an astrologer and you have these skills to provide certain information, I'm going to assume that whatever you say, if I tell you the dream, whatever you say it means, I'm going to say, oh yeah, that's likely what it means. And I don't want to be deceived. I don't want you to tell me something that's a lie. So I need to first know, can you tell me what the dream was? And if you can tell me what the dream was, then I know that whatever you're going to tell me it means, it definitely has to mean that. So once again, let's see how this is also worded in some of these other translations. NLT says, if you don't tell me the dream, you are doomed. So you have conspired to tell me lies, hoping I would change my mind. But tell me the dream, then I'll know that you can tell me what it means. All right, so basically it's saying here that actually, let's see, NIV says, if you do not tell me the dream, there is only one penalty for you. You have conspired to tell me misleading, wicked things, hoping the situation will change. So then, tell me the dream, and I will know that you can interpret it for me. So basically, Nebuchadnezzar was not giving them any wiggle room to be able to swindle their way out of this, because they knew their lives were on the line. So they were trying to, find a way out. I mean, and who wouldn't, right? But why was he doing this? Because the Most High put the spirit on him to do this, to be adamant about it. Verse 10, the Chaldeans answered before the king and said, there is not a man upon the earth that can shew the king's matter. Therefore, there is no king, lord, nor ruler that asks such things at any magician or astrologer or Chaldean. You asking for the impossible here. And it is a rare thing that the king requireth, and there is none other that can shew it before the king except the gods, whose dwelling is not with flesh. So the only what you asking for, the only way you really gonna get an answer is if you got it from the gods, and they're not they don't dwell with us. So that's basically what their answer was. Verse 12, for this cause the king was angry and very furious. and commanded to destroy all the wise men of Babylon. So he basically said, all right, then I guess I have no use for you. All right. So now, yeah, put them all to death. And that's the thing about dealing with kings, right? Because they had that absolute power, like in a situation like this, if they were, if they made a rash decision or something of that sort, and that's why back in the past you had people that had to learn the art of what's the word I'm looking for? Basically, how to what's the word? I forget the name of the I don't know if it's courtiers or something like that, but basically how to be in the court of the king, because you had to make sure that you were not that individual that stepped on the wrong, toes. All right, you stepped on the king's toes, you upset the king, you're dead. Okay, so you had to learn how to maneuver, how to move, in the presence of the king. But at the same time, you couldn't be too liked, because guess what? The others in the court will conspire against you, make you look bad, and guess what? Whoever's able to basically control the mind of the king controls your fate. All right. Verse 13, and the decree went forth that the wise men should be slain. And they sought Daniel and his fellows to be slain. Because remember, Daniel and Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, they were all also a part of the wise men. Verse 14, then Daniel answered with counsel and wisdom to Arioch, the captain of the king's guard, which was gone forth to slay the wise men of Babylon. He answered and said to Arioch, the king's captain, why is the decree so hasty from the king? Then Arioch made the thing known to Daniel. So he's saying, whoa, you just what? Just put everybody to death? What's going on? Why? What? All of a sudden, why? And so he basically explained to him what happened. Verse 16, then Daniel went in and desired of the king that he would give him time and that he would shew the king the interpretation. So when Daniel had found out that, oh, this is what happened, he basically went and asked the king if he could just have a bit more time. He said, look, I know that they couldn't do it, but give me a bit more time and I'll be able to show you the dream and the interpretation. Then Daniel went to his house and made the thing known to Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah, his companions. So he basically told him, look, man, this is what's going on. All right, they finna put us all to death. All right, and it's not a laughing matter. Okay. If we're not able to do this, that they would desire mercies of the God of heaven concerning this secret, that Daniel and his fellows should not perish with the rest of the wise men of Babylon. And see, that's the mercy, the grace, and the benefit of really being an Israelite, all right, but being a servant of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, because you're able to, like, where else would Daniel and his companions have gone? Right, you see with the astrologers and the wise men and so on and so forth, this was above their pay grade, and that's it. That was going to be it for them. Okay, but in the case of Daniel, he was able to go right to the Most High, knowing of a surety that for sure the Most High definitely is going to be able to get them out of this situation. Okay. Verse 19, the secret is revealed to Daniel. Then was the secret revealed unto Daniel in a night vision. Then Daniel blessed the God of heaven. So they prayed, they beseeched the Lord, and then when Daniel went to sleep, the Lord revealed to him what dream it was that Nebuchadnezzar had. So he probably got the same dream that Nebuchadnezzar had. Okay? And the meaning of it. Then Daniel answered and said, blessed be the name of God forever and ever, for wisdom and might are his. And he changeth the times and the seasons. He removeth kings and setteth up kings. He giveth wisdom unto the wise and knowledge to them that know understanding. So he was basically praising the Lord because the Most High does all. Right? He revealeth the deep and secret things. He knoweth what is in the darkness, and the light dwelleth with him. So even, for example, the fact that we're able to read the Bible and basically explain it, break it down with the correct understanding, even the historical part, the prophetic part, the dark sayings, the parables, all of those different things, that's because the Most High revealed that, okay, to us, starting with our elders and apostles and even their elders. And you have to have faith to believe that, but it's not something impossible. Like, we're reading about what happened here. The Most High, revealed a dream that somebody else had to Daniel, and the meaning of it, right? Verse 22. And so really, if you find yourself in a certain situation, in a certain bind, you got to pray. And this is just an example showing you or highlighting the power of the Lord, that the Lord can deliver you in so many different ways. Verse 22, he revealeth the deep and secret things. He knoweth what is in the darkness, and the light dwelleth with him. I thank thee and praise thee, O thou God of my fathers, who hast given me wisdom and might, and has made known unto me now what we desire of thee. For thou hast now made known unto us the king's matter. Therefore Daniel went in unto Arioch, whom the king had ordained to destroy the wise men of Babylon. He went and said thus unto him, Destroy not the wise men of Babylon. Bring me in before the king, and I will shew unto the king the interpretation. So basically, he came nice and happy and ready. I got the info. I got it. Let's go. Verse 25. Then Arioch brought in Daniel before the king in haste. So you can imagine, right? Daniel goes to Arioch. He tells him the case. Arioch is like, all right, let's go. And they all, him and whoever else, maybe Daniel, maybe some other soldiers as well, and they marching, they're going through the hallway, leading up to the king's palace or the king's court or whatever, make way. Anyway, then Arioch brought in Daniel before the king in haste, and said thus unto him, I have found a man of the captives of Judah, that will make known unto the king the interpretation. The king answered and said to Daniel, whose name was Belteshazzar, Art thou able to make known unto me the dream which I have dreamed, and the interpretation thereof? Daniel answered in the presence of the king and said, and now keep in mind, right, at this point, this is not just the king, Daniel, and Arioch, just three people in the room. No, the king always had people in his presence, in his court, with like guards, cupbearer, counselors, whatever, right? With the exception that he would request the room to be just him. Okay, and in some cases too, like interpreters, right? In case somebody came in and they didn't speak the same language, right? The king would have an interpreter. And sometimes the king would just have somebody who, if he didn't want to talk directly to an individual, he would talk to the person, and the person would talk to that individual. Even though you can hear the king talking to the person, he's not speaking directly to you. Okay? Today you think, well, that's stupid. You just say, yo, I can hear you. Why don't you just talk straight to me? They would take that as a sign of disrespect, and guess what? Your head would have came off. Verse 27. Daniel answered in the presence of the king and said, The secret which the king hath demanded cannot the wise men, the astrologers, the magicians, the soothsayers shew unto the king. So none of them can show you this. But there is a God in heaven that revealeth secrets, and maketh known to the king Nebuchadnezzar what shall be in the latter days. Thy dream and the visions of thy head upon thy bed are these. So you notice Daniel first gave that reverence and that praise to the Most High, right? He didn't just come up in there and say, I got it, I'm the man, look at me. He said, no, those magicians and all of them couldn't reveal it to you, okay? But in fact, that dream you got was really the Most High, the God in heaven, who was showing you what was going to happen in the latter days. He was basically showing you a vision of the future. Now I'm going to tell you what that vision was. As for these, O king, thy thoughts came into thy mind upon thy bed. What should come to pass hereafter? And he that revealeth secrets maketh known to thee what shall come to pass. Wow. So basically, Daniel was telling him that, hey, you were thinking, right? Maybe before you went to sleep or whatnot, you were thinking, damn, I wonder what's going to happen. What's going to happen? Like it says, what shall come to pass hereafter? What's going to happen in the future? And the Most High gave you this dream, right? And he that revealeth secrets, which is the Most High, maketh known to thee what shall come to pass. So he basically gave you a dream to answer those thoughts you were having. Verse 30. But as for me, this secret is not revealed to me for any wisdom that I have more than any living. So I'm not like some super genius, which is why I have this, right? But for their sakes that shall make known the interpretation to the king, and that thou mightest know the thoughts of thy heart. Okay? But basically, the Most High, had mercy and gave me the interpretation so that we're not going to be put to death. But also to answer those thoughts that you had, right? You wanted to know what was going to happen. Verse 31, the king's dream. So now Daniel goes on to tell the king what his dream is. And then, remember, he was going to tell him first what the dream is and then what it means. So verse 31, thou, O king, sawest, and behold, a great image, which this image is like an idol. Okay, when you look up a image, in most cases, as a matter of fact, we can look it up here. It's an idol. Okay. Let's see. Yeah, you see image idol. It says Tazalam. Okay, because today you think of an image as a picture, but really an idol was also like a physical picture, right? It was like a something carved out or molded or whatever to represent something. Okay, so Nebuchadnezzar basically saw a big giant idol or statue. Okay. So it says here, and behold, a great image, this great image whose brightness was excellent, stood before thee, and the form thereof was terrible. This image's head was of fine gold. So he basically saw like this. Let me pull this up. This is pretty much, if you look at Nebuchadnezzar dream statue. If you look at a few images here, find maybe a decent enough one. There we go. Cool. So here you can see they pretty much describe it, like a man, right? And then it has the head of gold, right? And then as we're going to keep on reading, it'll describe the different body parts of this image, this statue. Okay. So it also goes to symbolize, right, how the beginning, the head represents the beginning, and the toes or the feet represents the end, right? And that'll help you when you go through, I think, what's that, Revelation 13 talks about the beast whose head was like the leopard and his feet like the bear. It really represented the beginning to the ending of that beast kingdom. But anyway, let's continue on in here, right? So it says, the image's head was of fine gold, his breast and his arms of silver, meaning his chest down to his arms and everything, his belly and his thighs of brass, his legs of iron, his feet, part of iron and part of clay. So there's some divisions in here, right? You have the head, the breast and the arms, let me see where we at. The breast and the arms, the belly and the thighs of brass, right here. And then what does it say here? His legs of iron, and then his feet, part of iron and part of clay. So there's actually a slight separation here, right? You have the legs, as you can see, prophetic gap, and then you have the feet. Okay. So let's keep on reading. Verse 34, thou sawest till that a stone was cut out without hands, which smote the image upon his feet, that were of iron and clay, and break them to pieces. So you basically saw the statue, and then right at the bottom you saw a stone, okay, come and basically smash the feet and break it. Verse 35, then was the iron and the clay and the brass, the silver and the gold broken to pieces together. So pretty much the whole statue was broken, right? It all got broken down. And became like the chaff of the summer threshing floors. Now, when you look up chaff, okay, chaff is basically the remains of when you have like a harvest, and then you reap. Maybe it's like grains. You would reap the grains, bundle it up into sheaves, and then take it to the threshing floor. And the threshing floor looks something like this. Okay, perfect. So the threshing floor, Maybe I just try to zoom into this one a bit. Yeah, it looks something like this. All right, where it's a hard floor, sometimes like a concrete or like a very hard surface. And the job of the threshing floor was to thresh. You would put the sheaves on there, and you would beat it, and then it would separate the grain from the outer skin. All right, otherwise known as the chaff. And then that chaff later on would be carried away, or like it would be blown away by the wind. Okay, because what you wanted was the grains, not the actual chaff. You're not doing anything with that. Okay, so this is also an example here. All right, and then these are the oxen, all right, that are also used for threshing as well. So let's go back. So the analogy here is saying, so the stone comes and it hits the feet, and basically it breaks apart the feet, but also the whole statue is broken down, right? And it became like the chaff of the summer threshing floor, and the wind carried them away, that no place was found for them. And the stone that smote the image became a great mountain and filled the whole earth. So that's basically what you saw. A stone came, broke that statue with the feet, really hit the feet, broke it down, and then the statue basically crumbled up and became like chaff, and then it was just like blown away. And then that stone that you saw break down this thing became like this super big mountain. Okay, and he's saying basically this is what you saw. Verse 36, now this is the interpretation. This is the dream, and we will tell the interpretation thereof before the king. Thou, O king, art a king of kings, for the God of heaven hath given thee a kingdom, power, and strength, and glory. And wheresoever the children of men dwell, the beasts of the field and the fowls of heaven hath he given into thine hand, and hath made thee ruler over them all. Thou art this head of gold. So that head of gold, that's you. And really, it represents the Babylonian Empire. Okay, but it was saying it's really him because he was the king at the time. Okay, and after thee shall arise another kingdom. So after thee, meaning after your kingdom or your empire, right? Because when Nebuchadnezzar died, the Babylonians were still in rulership, right? He had somebody else that reigned after him. So, and after thee shall arise another kingdom inferior to thee, and another third kingdom of brass. So the kingdom that would arise that was inferior was going to be this one of silver, which represented if you look in the world major empires, from the Babylonian Empire, the Neo-Babylonian Empire, came the Medo-Persian Empire, okay, or the Achaemenid Empire. And basically they took down the Babylonian, or took over the Babylonian Empire. So they are that second kingdom, that another kingdom that Daniel was talking about. It says, and another third kingdom of brass, right, which is what kingdom came up into power after the Persians, the Greeks. Okay, so the Greek or the Grecian Empire led by Alexander, that was the third kingdom of brass. That's what the brass represented, the third kingdom. So you had the Babylonians, then the Medo-Persians, and then the Greeks that took them over. So this, you can start to see, this is a timeline, right, of different kingdoms. And then it says here, another third kingdom of brass, which shall bear rule over all the earth. And that was, once again, the Greek Empire, which basically had reign all the way from, if you look at the Grecian Empire map, from all the way from Macedon to, was the Indus Valley. So it had a large portion right there. Nah, we're good. Okay, yeah. So you can see right here, borders India, took over all this region right here. Okay, so when it says over all the earth, it's really meaning like a large portion of it, that main known world. And then, and the fourth kingdom shall be strong as iron. So going back to the statue, that's the legs, which is going to be another kingdom. And what kingdom rose up into power and took down the Greeks? The Romans, right? It says here, and the fourth kingdom shall be strong as iron, for as much as iron breaketh in pieces and subdueth all things. And as iron that breaketh all these, shall it break in pieces and bruise. So this fourth kingdom, which is the Roman Empire, was likened unto iron. because of its strength and its might. All right. And when you look at how the Roman Empire came up into power, they were basically a force to be reckoned with. Okay, so this fourth kingdom, which is as strong as iron, represented the Roman Empire. Okay, and it broke in pieces and bruised, meaning it took over all of those these different regions, right? Verse 41, and whereas thou sawest the feet and toes, right? So going back here, we've gone through everything, but now from the, let me zoom in. All right, there we go. From the legs, you come down to the feet and the toes. Okay. So whereas thou sawest the feet and toes, part of potter's clay and part of iron, the kingdom shall be divided, but there shall be in it of the strength of the iron, for as much as thou sawest the iron mixed with miry clay. Now, this kingdom, this is a separate kingdom, than the fourth kingdom. What I mean is, it's really an extension of the fourth kingdom, but it manifested, as like a second leg of the fourth kingdom. So the fourth kingdom is the Roman Empire. This kingdom that came after, that is represented by the feet and the toes, represents the kingdom that we're in today. Okay, and it's really referred to in many different instances, like especially in the book of Revelation. All right, known as the beast. Okay, the same beast that has the mark of the beast, yada yada yada, issues the mark of the beast. Yeah, that beast is this kingdom here, which is really the NATO and the EU. That's that body. Okay, that's really ruling. Okay, and then it goes to describe this kingdom, right? And says here that this kingdom is going to be part of potter's clay and part of iron, which represents that the kingdom is going to be partly strong and partly weak. You're going to have, because remember that in this kingdom that we're in, it's not just it's not just like a one country. It's a conglomerate or unification of multiple different countries that have joined together to form a power structure, right? And as a matter of fact, let's go real quick to the book of Revelation, chapter 17. Revelation 17, and getting down to the last part. Revelation 17 and 17, it says, for God hath put it in their hearts to fulfill his will, and to agree, and to give their kingdom unto the beast, until the words of God shall be fulfilled. So basically, the Lord put it in the spirit of these different nations in NATO and the EU to come together, okay, and to form this power structure for a period of time. But amongst these different nations, you have some that are weak, all right, and you have some that are strong, both in the military aspect and also in the financial aspect. So there are certain countries that are part of this kingdom, right, the kingdom we live in today, that are financially strong, and some that are financially weak, and some that are militarily strong, and some that are militarily weak. So the weaker countries represent that clay, okay, and the stronger countries represents that iron. So the iron represents the strength in this kingdom we're reading of here in Daniel 2 and 41. Okay, and why primarily is why are the weak countries represented by clay, right? Because in the scriptures, at least I think in Habakkuk, the second chapter, I believe. See if we can go there real quick. Habakkuk 2. There we are. Yeah, in Habakkuk the second chapter, 2 and 6, it says, shall not all these take up a parable against him, and a taunting proverb against him, and say, woe to him that increaseth that which is not his? How long? And to him that ladeth himself with thick clay. Now, when you look into the word here for thick clay, all right, it actually goes into debt. The word there is let me pull it up here. Bat yat. Okay, that's a top, which means heavy debts. And what's a sign that a country is not doing well economically? When they're in a lot of debt. Okay, And that's pretty much the case, as you can see. If you look at some of these countries that are part of the this kingdom today, NATO and the EU, a part of what's making them weak is that debt that they're in. Okay, so that's why you'll see that it's representing this this kingdom here as iron and clay, but it's mixed together. Okay, so Daniel was saying here, this last kingdom, the toes that you're seeing, is representing a kingdom that is going to be strong in some aspects, but also weak in some aspects. Then he goes on to say the kingdom shall be divided. So there's going to also be divisions in this kingdom. And one example is just a couple of years ago, I believe in 2020, you had Brexit, which was the UK, right, which is a part of the toes, exiting the EU. And that was a division right there. But there are even more divisions within this kingdom. Although they're still together and they're still running as a body, there's still divisions within them. And as we will see, those divisions are eventually gonna get worse and worse and worse, to where it's gonna turn to war, and it's gonna cause it's gonna play a role in the crumbling of this kingdom. Because no matter what you do, iron and clay will not stick. All right, it says, but there shall be in it of the strength of the iron, right, which is those nations that are strong, for as much as thou sawest the iron mixed with miry clay. So you're going to have a kingdom that is going to be ruling in this last time period, and it's going to be partly strong, and a part of it is going to be weak, and it's going to have divisions. And that describes this kingdom today, right? Verse 42, it says, and as because these countries are allied together, but they don't all have the same, they don't all necessarily always agree on the same thing, but they still work together because of different, treaties and trade agreements and so on and so forth, and alliances. All right. Verse 42, and as the toes of the feet were part of iron and part of clay, so the kingdom shall be partly strong and partly broken. Okay. And that's what that clay represents. And whereas thou sawest iron mixed with miry clay, they shall mingle themselves with the seed of men, but they shall not cleave one to another, even as iron is not mixed with clay. So basically what you'll see is that this kingdom is going to have a mixture of certain nations, which primarily have Esau, Edom at the top, right? But Esau's kingdom is not just Edomites at ruling at every level. They have deals and alliances and intermingling with other nations. Okay, as a matter of fact, those that are really ruling this kingdom today are the ones behind the scenes, right? People call them the Illuminati and so on and so forth, but really the elites. When you actually do research on the elites, you'll find out that the elites and like different secret societies and so on and so forth that are pulling the strings and really running this kingdom that we're in, it's not all just Edomites. Okay, you actually have them intermingling with other nations, which are the seed of men, okay, that are also pulling the strings, that are also a part of these, a part of the elite structure, so to speak. But the predominant or the primary nation is Esau, all right, or the Edomites, okay. However, although they are mingling themselves with the seed of men, they're not going to cleave one to another, because at the end of the day, those alliances, those intermingling is going to come apart, because that's according to prophecy. It's going to come apart. All right, because no matter what they do, no matter how strong their agreements are, they don't necessarily see eye to eye, right? They make these agreements in with the mindset of what's going to be better for them, not because they say, oh, I see this guy and I really like him, or I like this people and I really want to make this strong deal with them so we can go for a long period of time. No, they do it to see, well, what can I gain from being in a mingling with such and such, and that's only going to carry them so far. But because of prophecy, that those mingling, all right, that mingling that they're having is not going to last. So it says they're not going to cleave one to another, even as iron is not mixed with clay. So if you were to take iron and you were to take clay, it doesn't matter how much you try to put them together, it's going to fall apart. It's going to break apart. Because that's just the nature of iron and clay. They don't mix. Okay? And that's the nature of how the Lord has set this up. So all in all, the what Daniel has described so far is the Babylonian Empire, the Medo-Persian Empire, the Greek Empire, the Roman Empire, and then the reincarnation of the Roman Empire, or the second leg of the Roman Empire, which is NATO and the EU today, but it's really led by America. That's this last kingdom. That's the toes. Okay, and Daniel was basically telling the book and as hey, the characteristics of this last kingdom is they're going to be partly strong, they're going to be partly weak. They're going to have divisions and skirmishes and all of that. Okay, but at the end of the day, it's going to come apart. And verse 44 is going to go into that, how that's ultimately going to happen, right? So it says, and in the days of these kings shall the God of heaven set up a kingdom which shall never be destroyed. And remember, let me see, I think there's a precept on that. Kingdom. Let's see if we can, 86 times, that's quite a while. Pretty sure the Lord mentioned that the kingdom is within you. Let's see, kingdom within. There you go. Luke 17:21, neither shall they say, lo here or lo there, for behold, the kingdom of God is within you. So the kingdom, right, really starts with the people, right? The kingdom of heaven, it really starts with the inhabitants that are going to be in there, because the kingdom is not a kingdom without a people, right? So what it's saying here is in the days of these kings, so during this time, right, that this last kingdom is ruling, the Most High is going to set up a kingdom. And when you're setting something up, you're in the process of putting it in place. And the setting up of the kingdom starts with the Lord waking up the inhabitants of that kingdom, which are the Israelites, okay, and putting us back into our right mind, our right order, starting with the elect, right, the chosen of the nation. And eventually that's going to lead to the Yahushai's return, the Messiah's return, and the establishment of the kingdom, starting with those people that the Lord, is waking up. Okay, so it says the Most High shall set up a kingdom which shall never be destroyed, and that's the kingdom of heaven. And the kingdom shall not be left to other people, but it shall break in pieces and consume all these kingdoms, and it shall stand forever. So what does this mean? This means that at the end, when the Messiah returns to establish his kingdom, that kingdom, the kingdom of heaven, is gonna take over. So right now, all the different, nations and forms of rulerships that exist today, they're gonna cease to exist, because the kingdom of heaven is gonna come and take that divine or absolute rulership upon the earth. And the kingdom of heaven is gonna continue on forever. Why? Because I believe the scriptures say, see, I think it should be in the Apocrypha. One kingdom is translated. Either one kingdom or a kingdom, or the kingdom. Let's see if it'll come up. Here we go. This is Ecclesiasticus 10:8. Because of unrighteous dealings, injuries, and riches gotten by deceit, the kingdom is translated from one people to another. So what we're reading of here says, with this kingdom, it's not going to be left to another people, or in other words, it's not going to be translated from one people to another. Why? Because in this kingdom, the kingdom of heaven, there's going to be no unrighteous dealings, injuries, or riches gotten by deceit. It's going to be a perfect kingdom. And because of that, it's never going to need to go down or be translated to somebody else. Verse 45, for as much as thou sawest that the stone was cut out of the mountain without hands, and that it break in pieces the iron, the brass, the clay, the silver, and the gold, the great God hath made known to the king what shall come to pass hereafter. And the dream is certain, and the interpretation thereof. So he was basically saying that the stone that you saw coming out, it was basically the Lord showing you what was going to happen in the last days. That all these kingdoms that were going to rule were all going to be brought down and be subjected. And the kingdom of heaven, which is going to be instituted by the Messiah, okay, is going to be the sole, kingdom that's going to take over and is going to rule. Verse 46, then the king Nebuchadnezzar fell upon his face and worshipped Daniel and commanded that they should offer an oblation and sweet odors unto him. And the king answered unto Daniel and said, of a truth it is that your God is a God of gods and a Lord of kings and a revealer of secrets, seeing that thou couldest reveal this secret. Then the king made Daniel a great man and gave him many great gifts and made him ruler over the whole province of Babylon, the chief of the governors over all the wise men of Babylon. And that's a very high position. Okay. Then Daniel requested of the king, and he set Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego over the affairs of the province of Babylon. But Daniel sat in the gate of the king. So pretty much Daniel was raised up into a high position. And then, in period of time, he basically requested that his companions, right, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, also be put in these high positions as well. All right. And that's pretty much Daniel, the 2nd chapter. Okay. Like I said, the real bulk of this is about the significance of the dream that Nebuchadnezzar had and what it actually represented. Okay, so with that, Lord willing, you were edified. In closing, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rakha Kodash. And until next time, Shalom.